Literally, if I said to you one day,
first,
one day if I said you're gonna squat first, I said great, and then I said next day we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do this. Everything you did, we're gonna do it in the reverse order. Well, now those are completely different, like fatigue profiles, right? And all of a sudden, and then adjust the weights accordingly. If something feels heavy, light, whatever, adjust. It's no big deal. But the idea that you could say novel stimulus might be the exact same exercise in a different order, and all of a sudden, oh my God, that's a totally different program. It's like it's the same program, just different orders turns into different orchestrations, and then wow, I can feel that better. And then by all means, you can choose which one you think works the best for you, but it doesn't have to be the I squat first, you should squat first, you know, leg press first, because that's it's like, who gives a shit about that? Does that make sense? Now, when you're on this guy, you start down there. Wow, nice.
Yeah, once I'm warmed up, I'll go pretty good.
All right, okay, show me where you go. All right, so now our hip joint is where? Right here, okay, right in the middle there. So you have to make sure that doesn't move around, because what a lot of people do is to get that wide, they roll and right. So I want you to think about is your job is to keep the whole top surface of this pad attached to that, no matter where you go. So I don't give a shit about where you go.
Don't let this move against the top.
I want this to stay. It feels like you're turning it into that.
Yes, that's what I constantly try and think about. It's almost like rotating into it as I contract through.
But where you are now, see how you rest in it. Let's roll out.
It opens.
So I want you to not do that. Think the pad and like a big arrow right here. Okay, so this arrow right at the top, coming across, one movement. And this is so misleading. That looks like up and down, doesn't it? But this is in and out. So we're not letting, he wants to push you open. So we're going to control the opening and closing. And this is an arc. So we're thinking,
would you not come deeper than that?
No, I don't think someone could. There's your end right there.
In fact, it's my hips then start to go.
Yeah, that's when your pelvis changes to get more range. There you go. You feel that changes that effort?
Yeah, it's much harder to do.
There we go. All of a sudden, that's a whole different exercise. There you go. Who would have thought, right? Okay, but all you did to the outside world, nothing changed. To the inside world, you went from here to here, right? Just that little change, but then you kept it.
And then not coming as deep. And then
Yeah, all of a sudden, well, I'm doing this to get my safe in and out. All of a sudden, you're like, no, I'm going to fix that axis. Yeah, I'm going to fix that axis and come across. Okay, and all of a sudden, wow, that became a much different exercise, right?
So I'm in a dentist chair.
Yeah, well, or if the dentist puts your legs up like that, we're not worried. Now, this thing has a seat belt. So anytime you see a seat belt, you should be thinking, oh, I got to use that. There must be some relevant thing for that, right? Yeah. And so this position, your legs outweigh 25 pounds, probably a bit, right? And if we take this pin, move it in. So this is up and in to down and out. Now we're going to try and take our tension off our feet. We're going to think about, you just found, oh, I found these pads that I had to pay attention to. So now it's like, well, that feels similar. Have a conversation about that. So we're going to think about how much surface of the pad can you keep up. I don't care what range, but I don't want it rolling around, okay? Now from here, contact the pad position. Now it's going to take you down and out. So it's an abduction thing, right? It's kind of like, oh, it's kind of similar. But I want you to think about pulling yourself forward and create some tension with your abs, because I want you to feel like you're coming out of the chair. Because now you pull yourself into the belt. Does that make sense, right? And we're just going to have this conversation of what's happening here. There, see, there's that end point. Now we're going to think about up. Otherwise your legs just lay on this. So I want you to actually pull your legs up with me. Think about pulling your legs up and in. Pull them up, pull them up, pull them up to go back down. There you go. Now because you're so good at this, we're going to bring it down and out. Push, push out, hold there. Now I want you to think about pushing your feet through the plates. So you're going to think about down now. Yeah. Okay, you're going to come up, flex up, flex up, flex up, flex up. Drive your feet through the pads. There, feet through the spokes, okay? So you're driving down into here. Attaboy, and then relax. There you go. Yeah, but most people would be like, well, it's a girl thing, you know. Meanwhile, though, all this tying in and control and directionality on the hip joint, because, oh man, my hip feels great, my back feels great, my SI joint feels great. Oh, pretty easy to say like, oh, I think that would be valuable for all the big shovey exercises you want to do, right? Good. So lots of tension on those abs to drive us through. There you go. And then you can just see this direction to this direction is through these pads, right? It doesn't matter where you can move this, it's got to be the pads. That's better. Surface you can find out of the chair, out of the chair. Yes, there you go. That's better. Okay, cool little machine.
Yeah, it's really, like the motion's really weird.
Yeah, it's just something you're not used to finding more than one plane of motion. So it's like multiple plane of motion.
Kind of like an axis.
Yeah, it's like got a total different axial line, which is great because like from a rehab standpoint, this is an awesome piece of equipment. Most people just wouldn't take advantage of it, that's all, right? So basically this is just a preacher curl for your legs, right? So I don't care if you get past that. I want you to think about that sort of, the first move from here is, I would call this up. I don't give a shit about you going this far up. Does that make sense, right?
Don't worry about feeling the stretch and pull.
No, I just need you to think about, use your quads right now to kind of take up some tension. There it is there. Does that make sense, right? Good. And so I'm needing this to go this way, right, into here. So I have abs here to do that. There you go. And then generally there's like a little float spot right here. Your knees would never dig in. They would just hang out right there. There you go. There. That's why we need so much forward position, right? Because this has to come up to here. There you go. Otherwise the knees rock downwards, right? It's no different than the preacher with the elbow rocking around, right? We want that whole surface there. That means that usually doesn't sit on there. How's that feel now? Is that a little different? And then if I grabbed you, you just wouldn't let me. You just wouldn't let me. You wouldn't let me. There you go. There.
Fuck. I don't know why that felt so much more harder.
That got so much harder.
Yeah.
So you decided to hold the pivot at the knee from dropping forward and backward, which is what most people are doing to. It's no different than the preacher with somebody rocking around.
Momentum from the knee.
Yeah, you're starting to. No, you're just starting to change the angles, and all of a sudden you get some little distance changes, and then. But that's usually because somebody's trying to get that over there. They're trying to pull this up. They're trying to pull. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do this, and I'm trying to do this. Like I'm trying to go backwards, and most people are trying to go up, right? So they're not. This position, they'll dig this down really hard and then fight because their hips want to buckle up here. And then somebody goes, oh, you need to push down.
They pull themselves down here and this comes up and they're pulling up
and then they're just pulling these things fold.
Because what I always try and do is like a counter force, a pull that way into the pad for my legs.
So, but I got to pull my legs into this pad.
Yeah.
So that's the preacher curl right there. So this actually has, this dropping below here is where you get into some problems. It's like I got to drag. I'm in like a pike.
It's almost like the knee overextending below the pad.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy hamstrings. There you go. Yeah, crazy hamstrings. And then I don't care about the range. Just keep it moving. Not start and stop. Keep it moving. I don't care about range. You're going to gas it out. Just keep it moving. Don't start and stop. Yes, brother. Good. Okay, you know when the abs want to jump out of it. Keep your abs in it. Give up the range at the bottom. Don't change anything to get more range. Just keep the contraction intense. There you go. Long, through. Attaboy, good. Great job.
I try and always think about trying to control it with my hands almost.
Sure, and so if you felt like you were pulling different, then
not
you're
so much
like
then,
rotating?
but I think normally.
Oh, okay.
Where I start to like fatigue, I try and dig into.
Oh yeah, like I could kind of, yeah. Then it's like, oh, I can start to kind of pull it. And so the funny part is everybody wants to kind of do a hip flexion thing with this. I'm like, no, it gave you a hip flex so I can actually get more into hip extension. I gave you the opportunity for hip flexion, so I give you some room to think this is up from this board as opposed to, oh, let me get more hip flexion. It's like, well, that's giving you more knee flexion, but it's not. The hamstrings attach up here. So it's like, I got to control the rotation, and anything that drags you into your feet, that's when it's like, oh, why am I rotating and getting weird hamstring things? And does that make sense, right? Exactly. So that looked great. Your feet didn't buckle. You could just see you wanting to find that to try and find some space. It's like, well, then give up the range. Once you become sensitive to that, then give up the range, because anything you do is
coming up so high,
give it up, because that's where it said 100% of the quality but half a range, versus I got full range, but I'm letting it go. And now whenever it's heavy, where do you think you want to go? When it's really heavy, you're going to go right back to this like default. And then it's like, I don't know, I get this weird overdevelopment or underdevelopment, or it's like, well, you're biasing. Just finish those reps for no reason. Right? Like you could get half range and feel fucking amazing, and full range and feel awful. And it's like, well, full range was the thing to give up. And then eventually you'll get stronger and stronger, or the other one will never get stronger. Yeah. That's the weird because somebody said you full range and now you're doing full range of partial reps. It's like you're doing it poorly. When it gets heavy, you're gonna go to that poor strategy every time because you proved that's what I should do. Brain's like, oh, okay, he wants to go heavier somehow, fine, let's go there. And then you're like, I don't know, how did I hurt myself, right? Or where is this amazing, I'm using all this load, where's my development? Yeah, really solid. So remember, don't be so fascinated with that. This is a sled, right? So people want to think about the moving end. But if I did this to your knees, you're going down. So what direction do you have to pay attention to? Yeah, knees forward and backwards, right? Because if you think of the word forward, then out of that is backwards. This is a lie, yeah. If I said these two things are trying to crush you, these two things are trying, this just happens to be the moving end. There, so out of that would be that way. There you go, good. And then we're gonna make sure you stay on your whole foot, right? Wherever you pick your path has to be consistent with the hips. Yeah, it looks like you like this really wide. Can I turn that a little bit? Just that little bit, there. So remember, that's the same from the hip, right? Away you go. Now imagine you're gonna put your whole foot on there. So I don't wanna see any worry about that direction turns into like, yeah, just bend at the ankle. If I did that, and then to help you, I would just do this. I would just push that way. There you go, right? This magically means you're going down. And then out of that, there you go. This is also a big open cheek position. This is a big open cheek position. Kind of looks similar to what we did. We did some pushing out of that. We did some pushing out of that already, right?
Feels so fucking difficult.
Yeah, this is a lot of work. There you go. There you go. Great job. It's heavy, but once you start understanding where to line it up, it feels like I can get. Here's the other thing. It doesn't mean I don't like heavy exercise, but if I can make a plate heavy and effective, you will get stronger in do 2, and then you will be stronger in do 3, whatever it is. Or you'll get all the benefit of a plate, and then all of a sudden you get a benefit of 2, versus, well, I don't really feel it, I don't know, I guess I'm strong enough, and then I load more and more and more. And at some point, I have so much load on there, it's making me do something, but I got all these weird joint forces, and then say, yeah, I hurt my back on a hack squat, and that machine's bad, and it's like, well, wait a minute, you didn't even know how to control it. Does that make more sense, right? Exactly. Now you see all this hip stuff allows us to say, wow, we did all this pushing and driving. That's really what's happening now, right? I'm flexing my hip and I'm driving it away. So it's just, this is the result. Got it? So the abduction thing we did is kind of exactly what's happening now. So you're just not used to controlling these adduction positions. You're not used to controlling your feet. It's just like, they're just slaves.
I think that's why that's going on.
Yeah, you're not used to controlling this as one unit, right? You're not thinking about end points. You've just been turn these off and shove away over there, right? Yeah, you're used to some free rides here, that's all. There, so don't let me take that. Don't let me take it. Oh, don't let me take it. There you go. Oh, that's better. There, good. Attaboy. I don't care about the range. Give up your range if you got to. There. Yes, much better. Yes. Much better. Last one. Stay in control when you get to the top. There. Okay, otherwise that, like, oh, I can unload it. Yeah, that big toe is called your first ray. Okay, and that's literally a thing we kind of rotate through. And if you said, oh, I let that spin out on that one right foot, that's your big toe out, drop in and toe out position. It's like, well, yeah, but you don't control this aspect. You're spinning out into that aspect, right? And so it's like just learning to start to have some sense of that. Yeah, mobility dysfunction turns into development dysfunction because how do I load it? Well, it goes somewhere else, right? So something as simple as just understanding my feet on the ground turns into my pelvis relationship, which is what this thing is challenging, right? Foot, knee, hip relationship. Pelvis the same. Wow, that's a lot to control. It's like, yeah, but I'm not used to controlling it. Normally I let it go and I can move more load. It's like totally different. Does that make sense, right? Okay, so we're gonna do a step up. Grab your stuff. Does that feel familiar to what we're doing with the big toe again? There you go, switch sides. So this will be the hard one now. Yeah, you can see it wants to like go out. It wants to stay out, and your hip ends up back here.
So I keep my knee here.
Yeah, and that'll mean your butt's got to be way over there. Yeah, it's going to feel like ridiculously out there. Okay, you're just not used to it. So if I switch hands for a second, and I'm going to take this. Yeah. I'm going to say almost lifting up. Think of it filling up your hand to get up there. 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 Yes. Better. Good. See how the big toe goes through now?
Yeah.
So it's an inside path to get to an outside path. There you go. You've been used to starting on an outside path. There you go. That's better. Because that's not inside, that's on top of your foot. It feels inside because you're used to your hip swinging that way. So I need that. You're not used to your hip being outside at all. There you go. Feel the difference now? There it is. Good. Yes, much better. Last one. And relax. Thank you. So you went through all these inside-outside paths, and I was like saying, this goes, remember we started on that glutator was in to out, right? And so you're used to going out, and where else do I go from here? Especially on this right foot where it's like, oh, it's like, wait, I'm already in the loaded position, I'm already done. Versus I'm in a position of up and in, which is what that glutator put you in, so you can actually get up from that position and drive the leg down and away. It's just where your body is in space, right? It shows up a lot with lunges and people trying to be too tall, or they're worried about their knees going in. I'm like, your knee stays on top. It's just your carry. This is, again, we have a carry angle thing. Yeah. Now we have a Q angle, which means when I stand on one leg, this has to be on here. But look at the angle here. That's just normal. Because this is just a tail, right? There, now you're gonna stay over this, even more over this. There.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah. Last one. There you go, switch sides. I need to get you out, it's very similar. We're saying, oh, that idea of being down and then, oh, there's my back knee. That's as low as I can go. When really it's just, how do I fold the front hip? So it's probably a 70-30, not a 50-50. You're doing a pretty decent forward position, okay. But you get so long, that's when you see the,
short and stride.
You see the balance stuff, because people get so fascinated with being, it's like, well, how do I get out of here? I'm like, there's no way I'm on top of this foot. So that means I gotta be in a position where, oh, I stay in that. I don't care how deep you go. It's like when your hip end's loaded, when you can fold your hip, then get out of that. It's very similar to what we just did, okay? So try that. Don't worry about too low. And the funny part is it's hip through shoulder. It's not up, it's forward. Yeah, right? I gotta push backwards. So if my knee, you see this as down and I see this as forward. I see this as forward. So how do I get out of this? Oh, I go backwards. Drive your knee backwards. Now you see that pause at the top? If you really push your knee backwards, you'll end up, you won't go, oh, I'm up. It's like it's a, I'm out. Here I go again. Drive, good. Inside strike. There, go. There and there. There you go. There. Hip through shoulders. That's better. Hip through shoulders. Drive your knee backwards. Good. Those hamstrings pull backwards. Good. They pull the knee backwards. Good. Good. Hips go wide. There. Hips go out. There. Drive through. Good. Narrow strike. Narrow strike. Hip goes out. Good. Hip is wider. Through the shoulders. Good. There you go. There. Feel the hip swing out. The hip swing out. When the hip doesn't want to swing, that's when you're going to feel balance. Yes. The shoulders stay inside. You got it. There. That immediately turns into, oh, my hip isn't wide enough. My shoulders have to get over. So the funny part is me saying this is an inside strike. You would see an angle here. If you look in the mirror, this is way out here. And it's like, oh, I can handle this big shove. Because this is all set up as knee back through. Rather than this, and then you're like, oh gosh, I got to figure out my shoulders. Yeah, hip out. Yep. Hip way out. There you go, hip way out. Yes, there it is, hip way out. Good, just let the hip go more. Yes, in to go out. There it is, in to go out. Good. Because this is a gait cycle, right? Yeah. So I need to see the finish And then look, oh, there's my next one, and then finish, and then there's my next one, and finish. It's like driving that one drives the other one, right? Otherwise, we're looking at a bicycle and thinking one pedal at a time. It's like, no, no, one pedal is doing the same thing, driving around, okay? That's much better. So that should feel like, oh, a nice fit, like metabolic driver kind of feeling. Does that make sense, right? So we're gonna do this loading, which is dropping and almost that dropping in, flattening. And then funny enough, when we go up and out, this is a high arch position, right? This is literally stacking, and we're not using our toes. This is not up on the toes. This is on the ball of the foot. So the whole time is stacked up on the ball of the foot, okay? Then back down, flat foot, and then stack up, high arch. There we go. And straighten those knees. Use your quads, that's what they're for. Straighten your quads, there you go. They would literally be going down, that's better. They'd be going down into the ground. Good, you are driving your legs through the floor. How's that feel? Okay, so if you're on your own, a band is an easy exercise for that, right? How's that feel for the, now go take a walk for me and just.
Try that on like a car.
For sure, yeah. But I want you to think about straightening your knees all behind you. Yeah, not crazy, just like actually finishing your stride. Yes, there you go. If I push away, oh yeah, then my leg goes. But if I don't push away, it's I'm picking my legs up the whole time. Does that make sense, right? It can be a totally, and then that's a lunge again. That's inside strike, hips should be moving, straightening your legs, yeah, pushing and finishing. It's like, oh, that's a whole different feeling through my feet that maybe for sure that stops that toe out, crazy walk all the time.
What exercise you prefer over others for leg work?
No, I like them all, to be honest. I like whether you're squat or deadlift, or it doesn't really matter to me. It's like, the lunge is probably my biggest pet peeve.
What do you get wrong?
Yeah, most people are, you know, the only reason somebody does an upright 50-50 lunge and people say it's bad for your back if you don't stay upright. I'm like, if you have a bar on your back, it wants to what? So you better stand up straight and you better push that way. But then people have the same posture whether they have a bar on their back or not. And I'm like, why are you like this? There's no bar on your back.
If I had dumbbells, I would try and lean.
You still have to be lean, but if you have a bar on your back, it's trying to pancake you. So you better be pushing that way when you do your lunge because it wants to keep accelerating. But if you don't have that tool in your hands, then why are you in this upright lunge position? It's asking for all kinds of problems. And if I said, I don't really care about this back part because we want to bias this stuff, we're going to stay here and we're going to think about pushing it around a corner. Now here's the funny thing. If I asked you, instead of pulling down, I want you to take these handles and I want you to push them forward. Because this is going forward anyway, right? So we might as well push in the same direction. And then we're just thinking of that half. There. And we're going to live off this guy. And we're going to think about that straightening, right? So that I can take advantage of this change. Straightening. There you go. It doesn't mean this doesn't work, but this takes the brunt of it right here. There you go. Because those knees have to get full straight. Otherwise you stay in that open position. This is neutral.
Yeah.
Everything else you're doing is, right, this is still lined up as a straight.
So don't flare as much.
Yeah, that's you starting to want to sneak into, how can I load this more? We're going to keep that. There you go. Feel the difference in that? So we're not rolling anything. You're just keeping this lined up with this, but you're using the range here at the end to bias this.
So you suggest for me, if I want to try and get more...
We're going to spend all our time in the second half, yeah. And if you got to make it lighter, who cares? If you got a piece of equipment like this that can bias it. No, because if this is so dominant for you...
So you would agree that's dominant?
Yeah, but you tend to sneak into this. And it's like, I need this to stay straight. That's at the hips, not at the feet. That makes sense, right? So try it one more time. Right? Yeah, you did great. How do you feel?
Yeah, good. My hips actually feel a lot lighter, to be fair.
So that's exciting because you start to feel those hips be able to push and find that direction, right? Versus, I'm gonna trash my, everything feels good, but my hips don't feel great, right?
Yeah, I find a lot tighter to my hips.
Yeah, and so that's just finding those angles and finding those directions, and then
just
just better words.
Being like out here.
Yeah, that's sort of. I mean, this is effort, right? But you're a disciplined guy. It's just have you paid attention to this, right? And he's like, there's a totally different foot position, right? It's like, can I get that big toe in the ground? Yeah. I was like, I never pay attention to that, and then right away, that changes my hips and All of a sudden my trunk moves different, and right? So that could be big for you. Right? Good job, bud.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's a wrap. That was another insane session with Eric. So those small differences make a big difference over a long period of time. And I think that's one of those things where if you've got parts of your physique that may be underdeveloped, there's going to be a reason why it's trying to work out. So for example, me with my quads, I'm very heavy on the inside around the knee, but slightly light on the outside. It's all down to foot placement and the way I'm externally rotating my upper leg. So there's loads of tips and tricks within this. And I'll map out the workout we did so you guys can download and get a copy of that, so it'll be below the video as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, drop us a comment with any questions you have, and we'll see you in the next video with Eric very, very soon.